Welcome everyone to Wager Talk Extra. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Dan is on vacation, so when the boys away, the cats will play. All right, let's get into an all golf episode of Wager Talk Extra. We are coming off the PGA Championship. Myself and Nick Borrman are going to break down the Charles Schwab Challenge this week. I am coming off of a 3-1-2 week, and Nick is coming off of an awesome week where he cashed a 5% play on Patrick Cantlay inside the top 20. We're both going to give out some bets and some information that'll get you off on the right track. And both my plays and Nick's plays are available at wagertalk.com. Let's bring in Nick Borrman. As always, he likes to talk about total strokes gained over the last year, also the last 6 months and 3 months. A lot of outright winners are coming from this category. So let's bring in Nick. And Nick, you've done really, really well looking at this chart. So talk to us about the Charles Schwab Challenge and what the total strokes gained in this field tell us.
Yeah, Andy, what we're looking at here is the strokes gain chart. This is broken down over 12 months, 6 months, and 3 months. Basically, it's the, who's hot coming into the field this particular week. And I always start kind of trying to figure out my outright bets with this graphic. If you look at the top of the screen, you see 17 of 29 winners this year have ranked inside this top 10 over the previous 12 months. So 59% of the winners, which we know picking outright winners is very difficult. So when you have a place you can start where 59% of the time the winner has come from, why would you just want to start there, right? And it's not like you're going to bet all 10 guys, but you're going to pick probably 3 or 4 from this graphic. And you're going to start right there at the top of the list. It's no surprise. World number one, Scotty Scheffler, is the most consistent from, look at a 12-month span, and he's actually been playing a little bit better over the last 6 months and 3 months. It goes from about 2.5 strokes up to upwards of over 3 strokes gained per round. And then you go right down the list. You got Tony Finau next, closest. And it's kind of a bigger drop off from there to get that little, grouping from Sung Jae Im all the way to Jordan Spieth, all kind of in that similar neighborhood over the last 12 months. And then you like to look at, further from there. Okay, well, how do I decide from this group? I like to then go, all right, well, who's trending, on a shorter time frame in the right way? If you look at Max Homa sitting on top of Victor Hovland, all right, over 12 months, very, very close, almost identical, right? But then what's the trends? Max Homa is going down, right, from 1.62 over the last 12 months down to 0.89 over the last 3 months. And Victor Hovland, right below him, 1.57, 12 months, now up to over 2 strokes gained per round in the last 3 months. So clearly there's a big difference there on the trend that you're seeing from Victor. Obviously, he finished runner-up last week at the PGA Championship. To Max Homa, who has been struggling. I think he's only got 1 top 20 finish in his last 5 starts. And the pricing on those guys outright, so you're talking about 16-1 for Hovland and 22-1 for Homa. So not too much different there. It makes sense, maybe if you're looking at that reason, to circle in on Hovland. So the top 10 is where I like to start. I always throw in a couple of notables. These are either guys that are right after the top 10, maybe they're 11, 12, or 13, or they're guys that rank in the top 10 over the last 3 months or 6 months. So you see a guy like Russell Henley 1.04 in the last 12 months, but he's right there at 2 strokes gained per round over the last 3 months. So somebody clearly that's hot in the moment. And those are kind of guys you like to circle in on too. You want to get the guy that's riding a hot hand. Golf is very hot and cold, ebbs and flows. And when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. So that's the top 10 graphic, Andy. I like to look at every single week and start my outright selection. So I recommend you do the same if you're looking on the outright market.
Great work, Nick. That chart is it's the holy grail this year for golf. So if you're betting on golf, you have to know the total strokes gained and who's playing well in great current form. Now that we've taken a look at some players that we want to be betting on and that we expect to do well, let's take a look at a segment I do every week called Players That Can Trip You Up. We're going to start with Victor Hovland. Victor Hovland played absolutely incredible last week, finished tied with Scotty Scheffler for runner-up. The amount of energy that he used, though, mentally and physically, I think it took a lot out of him. I think it's going to take more than a few days to recover 100%. He gave some great interviews after the round talking about how focused he was that week. One of the things that worries me about him is how he just played incredible on some of the stats that he doesn't normally perform well in. So he was 3rd in tee to green. He was 1st in approach, and he was 10th around the green. Those numbers are not normal for him. So it feels like he played his best tournament of the year. I expect a little regression. Obviously, the week after a major can be a letdown spot, but especially for someone who works so hard to finish runner up, I expect his stats to regress a little bit back to the mean. He's priced as a top three favorite. I think that's a pretty ambitious number for him. So Victor Hovland is one I would be worried about not returning value this week. After Victor Hovland, we're going to take a look at Tony Finau. Tony Finau's game doesn't worry me, but his price does. He's being priced as a top three golfer this week, and he doesn't really shine when he's going up against some of these big name guys. He won the Mexico Open. That was down to him and John Rahm, and then it was everybody else. And he does not have any other top five finishes this year besides his win at that Mexico Open with him and John Rahm finishing 1-2. With him being priced as the second or third highest favorite this week, I just don't see any value on him. He was really bad last week. This isn't a great field, but it's decent, and he doesn't play well in the elevated events. 26th at the Masters, 31st at the RBC Heritage, 24th at the Arnold Palmer, 19th at the Players. Now, those are solid finishes in big time fields, but when you're being priced as a top three guy, I just worry about delivering returns. He would have to finish inside the top four, and that seems pretty ambitious. Like we mentioned, he was really bad last week. I won't be betting on him this week as I worry that he's just not going to get there. Maybe we look at top 10s, top 20s with Tony Finau, but if you're playing an outright, I just don't think he returns value, and I'm certainly not going to play him in DFS. And then, of course, we have to mention Michael Block. Listen, that was a fairy tale last week, an absolutely incredible week, one of the most incredible weeks we've seen for a golfer in a very long time. But listen, here's the facts. He played the tournament of his life. He had a hole in one, and he was plus 6.1 strokes gained putting, and that only got him a 15th place finish. This is the most obvious letdown spot ever. His mind has got to be racing. There's no way he's going to play that good this week. So do not bet Michael Block. Do not put him in your DFS lineups. In fact, I would be looking at him to miss the cut. So Victor Hovland, Tony Finau, Michael Block, those are three guys that I worry that can trip you up this week. All right, we're going to bring back Nick Borrman. Nick, this should make for a little bit interesting discussion here. So let's go to one of your golfers that you think is worthy of a bet. We're looking at possible outrights or maybe some top tens. What do you like?
Yeah, like for my outright play this week, Andy, I always pick three or four. One that I kind of have sitting above everybody else, and it's to do with price. You can't argue putting Scotty up at the top of the list, but it's all eggs in one basket if you're going that route. I'm not doing that, so I'm going a little further down the list, looking at Justin Rose, who, like many this year, Fowler and Jason Day, for example, is having a pretty much another career resurgence this season. He's coming off a top 10 last week at the PGA Championship, which does worry me. A lot of energy exuberated for sure in that event. But that was his fourth of the season. Of course, he's got the win already at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. What I like about Rose this week is Colonial is all about approach shots into greens. You don't need to be long. You just need to find the fairways in the right spot, and then you're going to have clear, shorter irons into a lot of these greens. And he ranks in strokes gained. He's gained strokes in approach in 9 straight starts, and that is one of the metrics I'm zeroing in on this week. Rose ranks in the top 10 in total strokes gained over the field in the previous 12, 6, and 3 months. No matter what sample size you're looking at, he's gaining strokes approach. He's also been strong in this event in particular. He ranked 8th in total strokes gained with a minimum of at least 8 rounds played. Great putter in general, ranking 20th in strokes gained putting this year, but on bent grass greens, you've probably heard this before, Andy, he is elite. And that's the second straight week we're going to see bent grass greens. I think it was another big reason he was great last week. He ranks number 1 strokes gained putting on bent grass greens going all the way back to 2014. So he's long been the king of bent grass. So this season he also ranks 9th in proximity, 3rd in sand save, and 9th in overall scoring percentage, 33-1. I think it's worth a ticket on Jay Rose this week.
I will tell you, Nick, I really like this play. I actually thought that Justin Rose of all the golfers looked like he was enjoying himself maybe the most. I no, I love this pick because I wonder how much energy did he really use. I mean, the other guys looked like they were grinding every single hole, but boy, Justin Rose, every time you cut to him, he was smiling and laughing. So I really like that one. I think that's a fantastic pick on Justin Rose. So. Let's jump to DraftKings Darlings. These are three guys that I think you can start your DraftKings lineups with. And this week I am going stars and scrubs. So we're going to start with the scrubs, and we're going to start with, well, he's not a scrub for one of the better careers in golf, but Zach Johnson at 6,200 is a must play this week. He's made the cut in 3 out of the last 4 events on the PGA Tour, and he's made the cut 3 years in a row here. This is not a long course. It fits his game really good. So Zach Johnson at 6,200 is a guy that I cannot pass up this price. Up next is Mark Hubbard. He's at 6,600. He's made the cut in 4 straight events. He even made the cut last week, and he's played here 4 times. He's never missed the cut. I do worry about him playing 4 rounds at the PGA Championship. He had a brutal weekend, but this is a much easier course that fits his game well. 6,600, a guy that's never missed the cut at this place. Absolutely give me Hubbard. And finally, Eric Cole, kind of flying under the radar, and he's definitely flying under the radar at price at 7,200. One thing that I worry about with him is that he's never played here. Course history and getting some experience here tends to matter, but he has been so good the last few weeks. He's finished 23rd and 15th the last 2 weeks. This is just way too good of a price to pass up on a guy who has top 20 upside. He's shown it the last couple weeks. So Zach Johnson, Hubbard, and Cole are my DraftKings darlings. I have my free digital upload at WagerTalk.com. Just go to the player profile page and you can download my article. It's got the full DraftKings lineups in there, some stats and other things like that. So, all right, Nick, we're going to talk about top 20 and top 10. You've zeroed in on one guy who I believe both you and I have made money on this year. So give us who you're looking at for the top 10s and top 20 markets.
Yeah, this I don't want to say it contradicts what you said earlier, and guys that might trip you up, and that's Tony Finau. His price is where your worry is, but I don't think you necessarily would argue that he should expect to play well in the field. Just is the value there. Usually, Andy, I zero in on guys that are returning, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 1, and a lot of times higher if you're going to the top 10 market. But this week, I was struggling to find the guy I really like because there's just not a lot of players with really a decent course history here over several years. So Finau does have that. If you look at his history, at this event, it's pretty solid, and he comes in obviously in good form too. He was a rare miscut. You mentioned that last week at the PGA. Excuse me, he didn't miss the cut. He was a rare miss in general. He finished really near the bottom of those that did make the cut, but that snapped a run of 14 straight starts with no finish worse than tied for 31st, including 10 top 20s and 2 wins. And I know, maybe there's an argument he's not going to win this week because the field's not there, but to top 20 it, I think that's pretty safe. And it's minus 125 right now. I like that price. Last week was the first time Finau lost strokes on approach this season, and the first time in over a year, Andy. The last time it happened was the Wells Fargo Championship in May of 22. I already mentioned that I'm zeroing in on that statistic this week, approach numbers, and he hasn't. We'll call last week an anomaly. Everybody can have an anomaly, especially at a golf course that difficult. That snapped a run of 24 straight starts, which he gained on approach. It's a big reason for success in this event. He's made the cut in all 7 starts at Colonial. He's got 4 top 20s, including a tie for 4th last year. Additionally, Tony can roll the rock pretty well. He ranks 14th in putting average per green in regulation, and he's 7th in scoring average. So, again, maybe not the best pricing this week, but I do think he's going to have a solid week. Top 20 is minus 125. Top 10 plus 170. I think it's decent enough. I'm definitely going to get behind him this week. Tony Finau.
I love that top 20 play. And Nick, you're coming off an awesome 5% win on Patrick Cantlay, who had a dynamite 4th round, get you the big cash. Tell everyone what you have up for this week and where we can find you at.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. Over at WagerTalk.com, our weekly golf backup, of course, which will have all the outright plays. I haven't yet loaded all of the leaderboard bets in there, but usually it's 4 outright plays, which I do have already, and then about 2 or 3 leaderboard bets. And then we'll see if there's any spots to add live throughout the week. Scotty, if those are interested, might be a guy you look at. If he doesn't get off to the fastest start, maybe he goes from 4 to 1 to 10 to 1, and that's the time you look to get money on him. But just an example. And then, of course, soccer right now is quiet during the week this week. I passed today, Tuesday, but I will have one play up, posted up later for today on Wednesday, and you can find that later on Tuesday.
Grab all of his plays over at WagerTalk.com. Nick Borrman, grab his golf. He's having a fantastic season. Grab his soccer. You saw the streaks there. He's just doing a fantastic job. So great job, Nick. Thank you for everything you do in the golf betting world. We're going to go to my best bet, and I am going to take a look at Denny McCarthy to finish inside the top 40. It's minus 150, so I'm just looking to make a unit or two off of this one. In the last 3 months, Denny McCarthy is 14th best in total strokes gained in this field. And really, the only thing he struggles with is driving distance, which is perfect for this course. That won't be an issue this week. The course is short. You don't want to try and overpower it. It rewards accuracy, not necessarily power off the tee. It's a putting and an approach tournament. He's great at putting. He has solid numbers tee to green, and he finished 27th here last year. This year has been a great year for him. This has been his best year as a professional. He's finished top 30 in 6 straight tournaments. With the course fitting his game this well, I expect a solid finish from him. I think minus 150 is a pretty decent price. Like I said, you're not going to go crazy on a minus 150 play. But I think in a little bit of a watered down field, once you get off those top tier of guys, Denny McCarthy should crack the top 40. And as always, if you're looking at our top 10s, top 20s, and top 40 plays, very important. Make sure you check the rules on your sports book. Make sure you know if you're playing with dead heat rules or if you're playing with bets that pay out on ties. If you're seeing some of these top 40s and top 20 bets with some pretty different prices at different sports books, that's why. Always check the rules. It's very, very important so you know what kind of bet you're getting into. Nick, thanks so much. Let's have another profitable week, man. Let's keep crushing golf. We're at the Charles Schwab Challenge. Good luck. You can find myself and Nick at WagerTalk.com. Let's have a great week in golf, and we will see everyone next episode on Wager Talk Extra.